when you get ready to install your hardware on your case, you can install it at different times through the process of when you're covering it. On this red case, I didn't take any of the hardware off. This particular latch was already broken off and I had to re-put that on, but I cut around this, and the hinges and back on this case. But on this particular case, all I did was use, and I'm looking it up so that I get it right, I used a number 4-40 Phillips slotted combination drive machine screw that I got at Lowe's, and it fits in here perfect, but the little nut that goes on the screw or bolt, yeah, they call them a screw on line, but the little nut that goes on it, if you put it down here, if you take your hardware off and have to put it down here, then as the machine goes in and out, your machine could get scratched. Up here it makes no difference because it's never going to touch the screw. So I did this when I was totally finished painting all this. I did the roofing method on top and then covered the bottom with Tolex and made a top out of Tolex and embroidered on there. So that one I did when I was totally finished. This is the case that the Featherweight shop saw and contacted me and asked if maybe I would do some kind of tutorial on it. And what I did on this one is the hardware was shot on this one. This case was in really bad shape. So I put new latches that I got on, I think I got these on eBay, but at the time all they had was the old brass looking ones. So in one of the other videos I showed you how I colored the back hardware, but the front hardware came with screws and I used the screws that came with it for this, and they feel pretty solid and secure, so I feel pretty good about it, but it's not my happiest option. On the back, I used the number 4 nuts and bolts or screws that I'll post a picture of. And I'm going to replace, I used them on the top and on the top of the lid on the back, and I used them on the back on the bottom of the case, but I'm going to take the ones out on the bottom and replace those with split rivets because I think it'd be safer for my machine. So all of those I did when I was totally finished with the case. I put all the hardware on when I was totally finished recovering it. Then the couple that I've been working on for this video, this particular case, I took the front hardware off, the back hardware off, and then I cut around the bottom of the latches. And I think I showed you in one of the videos how to do that. But I used split rivets on this one totally throughout, and then I punched little ovals of material to go over my split rivet. So you can see my little ovals of material, and I'll put a close-up of that on there. But I don't think it's too distracting. But the more I thought about it, I thought, oh, I want something different. And then on the first case I started on for this series of videos, I took all the hardware off, totally, completely off, and everything went on with split rivets. And I punched out little circles of material to go over my split rivets, and I put those on all when I was totally finished. And I had a hiatus where I wasn't working on these, and I got to thinking about it, and I thought of a better way to do it. And you don't have to put the little circles of material on. So on this one that I show you how to put the hardware on, this is this video, and this is the case that's in the video. I took all the hardware totally off, and I covered the whole outside bottom, except I still have the bottom to do. And I covered the top, and I glued my material around the edges, and I glued at each end, so my material is glued on at the ends, but I didn't glue my material down here. So what I've done is I use split rivets, and I show you how to put these pieces back on. I use my split rivets. Then on the back, I wanted to go ahead and install my flip down part of my latches before I covered up the inside. So I used the number 4 little screws or nuts and bolts is what I call them. I use those on the back. I use those on the top to hold it in, and I put my split rivets on the bottom. That way I can see exactly where my lid's gonna sit, and I can go ahead and put my latches on and make sure they fit exactly. After I get done putting all the hardware on the bottom with split rivets, and my 2 latches with split rivets, and the top of the whatever these are called, the top of these, I put on with the screws and bolts. When I'm totally finished covering the inside of the bottom, I'll go ahead and use split rivets, put the split rivets in here, and then glue my material in and go ahead and make my topper for the inside after I get done. So hardware on this video, and this is how I'm doing this one, and I think this is the best way to do it, but if you just have one case that needs a latch on it, like the red one, just go ahead and use split rivets or the little nuts and bolts. But I think this way I won't have to use any little pieces of material to cover anything up. I think I'll be happier with this in the end. But for every application it's a little bit different. You'll just have to figure out what you want to do. But I'll put the hardware on. Once that's on, then I'll do the bottom and the pockets in the bottom.